They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
What's up, everybody? My name is Ethan. This is Courtside TV. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and let's get into it. Merry Christmas, everyone. This is going out the day after Christmas. I'm recording this after watching all of the games from Christmas Day, and I'm going to give my thoughts on a specific team that I thought played really well. I have this hoodie right here. This is my new, some part of my Christmas gear. I know it's a little see-through with the green screen, but I got to wear my new stuff today, so bear with me. Just deal with it for one video, all right? You're going to have a blurry body for this one. Anyway, the Clippers, man, they have been super impressive so far through their first 2 games of the year. And yes, it's just 2 games, right? And you know, we shouldn't overreact to any team, good or bad, either way. But definitely, I feel like the Clippers are playing a lot better than a lot of people expected them to, right? And a lot of that is due to Paul George. He's had 2 awesome games. The first game, I believe he had 33, had an efficient night. You know, he was playing well, shooting the ball well, distributing also. He just was playing, you know, that Paul George brand of basketball that we had come to see from him last regular season, and then a couple of years ago with the Oklahoma City Thunder when he finished top 3 in MVP voting. And if Paul George can be that guy for the Clippers this year, then that's, you know, that bodes really well for them, because he had an okay season last year, but it wasn't up to, you know, the highest levels of play that we've seen him at. And so if Paul George can, you know, put together another year like that and be the leader of this team, then that is a really good sign for them. Now, can he sustain it in the playoffs is the biggest question. We're not sure. Obviously, we just won't know until we get to that point. But hopefully for him and for the Clippers, he'll be able to sustain that level of play. Also, Kawhi Leonard looks good, and you know, he's been playing well. You know, doing the usual Kawhi thing, playing good defense and getting his around 23 points a game. And he's, you know, he's just doing his thing. He left tonight's game a little early with that elbow to the face. There was kind of a lot of blood coming out there. Looked kind of scary, but it seems like he's okay. I think he just had to get some stitches, and he should be good to go for the next one. But yeah, Kawhi looks good. Paul George looks good. And even though I wasn't enthralled with their offseason, I do feel like a lot of the moves that they've made have improved the roster around the margins. I think bringing in Luke Kennard is a pretty underrated move. Yes, they extended him for a lot of money, but if he can continue to, you know, keep up that that level of production that he had in Detroit, and he's been playing pretty well so far for them. He had 8 points tonight, played pretty well in the first game as well. I think Kennard is a guy who can come off the bench for you, average probably 14 to 15 points if, you know, at his best. Hopefully he can stay healthy, and he's a young guard who should continue to get better. He provides some floor spacing and shooting, and you know, he's a nice rotation player for the Clippers to have, and it just shakes things up for them, right? And then Serge Ibaka, I think, is a little bit more of a veteran than Montrezl Harrell. He stabilizes the locker room a little bit. I kind of talked about this when they signed Ibaka near the start of free agency about a month ago now, but I do feel like Ibaka is an upgrade over Harrell, and I think that he will help out this Clippers rotation, especially when it comes to the playoffs. Bringing in Nick Batum on the cheap is also, I think, a steal. He has not been great the past couple of years, playing out the last, you know, few seasons of that massive deal that he signed with the Hornets, and now that he, you know, got his money and now he's on a contender, feels like he's actually motivated to play basketball again, and he's buying into his role. He had 13 points for tonight on 5 for 8 shooting. That's exactly what they need from him. You know, not he doesn't have to, you know, be the lead guy, of course, like in Charlotte where they kind of were relying on him to do too much. I feel like this is a perfect role for him here. He's now, you know, in that stage of his career where he's a veteran and he knows how to play around other guys who want to win. And so I think getting Batum on that deal also was a pretty big win for them. So while the Clippers didn't really change up the top of their rotation, I was kind of expecting them to look into like moving Patrick Beverley or Lou Williams or Zubats or some of the other you know, higher end rotation players on this team that are not Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. They ended up bringing in a couple of other guys and you know, letting Montrezl Harrell walk and trading away Landry Shamet. And those moves are kind of more around the margins, but it looks good so far. And it's kind of reminding me why I liked the Clippers so much last season, because last year, before the season started, I picked them as my title favorite. Obviously, we know how that went, right? But the more that I, you know, am listening to a variety of podcasts, right? I listen to a lot of podcasts and other basketball YouTubers and lots of, you know, people around who follow the sport and are pretty smart about it. And the thing that I always hear from a lot of these people is that, you know, a lot of people picked the Clippers last year. On paper, they looked like they were the best team going into the season. It seemed like they had that versatility, the shooting abilities there. They had the floor spacing, they had the veteran leadership. Kawhi was coming off a title, Paul George was coming off an awesome season with OKC, and things just never gelled for them. But with another year's time and some moves around the margins, maybe this season it'll all come together for LA, and they can finally, reach that potential that we thought they could hit last year, right? And if they do, that's pretty scary for the league, because they're coming off of wins against the teams that were in the Western Conference Finals last year. Now, you can say that the Nuggets kind of have a little bit of a hangover from last season. They're not playing their best basketball, and I would agree with that. And the Lakers weren't really trying opening night either. They're probably going to coast for most of the regular season, and I would also agree with that. But you can't argue with the facts. The Clippers just beat, the two best teams in the Western Conference, and I think that's a pretty big deal, and it's a good confidence booster for them going into the year. So I don't want to, overcorrect on Clippers predictions here, just because I liked them so much last year, and they disappointed everybody in the playoffs, and so they're kind of in this weird middle ground where they look super good on paper, but in practice, we know how the results played out last year. So it's just, we kind of have to find exactly where the Clippers are going to be. I don't want to get sucked into the trap of believing in them again, but I also don't want to underrate them just because they weren't as good as we thought they were going to be last season. So I don't know. But if I was a Clippers fan, I'd be pretty confident right now. We'll see how everything shakes out as the year goes along. Obviously, there's a lot of basketball left to be played, and I doubt this is the final roster. I think they might, make a couple more changes around the deadline, depending on how things are going. Then they have movable salaries with Lou Williams and Beverly and Zubats, like I mentioned, and so potentially we could see them make a move there, or bringing in guys off the buyout market. That could always help. But we'll just have to see. But I do, this team is currently trending in a positive direction, and I think it's, we'll just have to see how it goes as the year goes along. But yeah, the Clippers, man, they've been impressive. So anyway, that's all I got for you on the Clippers. Like I said at the top of the video, if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, ring the bell if you want to, leave a comment letting me know what you think about the Clippers, and any of the other basketball that we've seen over the past couple of days, because we've had 3 days of games now, and we're, only ramping up to more. So there's a lot of basketball left to be played. Don't overreact to teams, good or bad. But, I just like to talk about what I've seen from certain teams so far. And the Clippers have me feeling a little more optimistic than I was probably just a couple days ago now. So anyway, with all of that said, hit that subscribe button. As I'm recording this, I have 198 subscribers, so almost to 200. So that's exciting. So if you can help me get there, get those last 2 up, I'd really appreciate that. With all that said, I will see you guys in the next one.